All right, so welcome back to another episode. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about the problem with healing your dysregulated nervous system. So, just briefly, there's a quote here from Henry Cloud and John Townsend: "Safety breeds safety, and safe people makes us better people for being around them." So, as you can see, it's like a little bit of a different camera angle, right? But it's better for me to record it like this. Okay, so this video is potentially for people who are in relationship or a romantic, intimate relationship with someone, or someone that is preparing to get married, or someone that wants to have a fulfilling future family with their children's, with their kids and their wife, right? But this is primarily for men. But if you're a woman watching this as well, go ahead, because healing does not only apply to men, healings apply to both men and women. But just me personally, I help men heal rather than women. Okay, uh, just overview. We're gonna be talking about a canon event, which is my story, right? That was supposed to happen. We're gonna talk about three problems. Healing requires mirroring of a safe nervous system. The second problem is that you don't use tools the right way. The third problem is that relationship or social tactics don't work. All right. Okay, so let's go. Moving on. What are the possible reasons you are watching this video right now? Okay. First, you can't seem to heal your destructive patterns even though you've worked so hard for it. You feel hopeless because nothing you can do changed your life. You keep on repeating the same patterns in relationship and in social life and you hate it. Okay? You've watched thousands of videos on healing destructive patterns, but it all seems vague and crowded. Okay? You've done trauma work, therapy, and so on, but still can't manage to get rid of addictions, habits, and behaviors that sabotages your life. You tried learning relationships or social skills uh, and tactics that are surface level, hence they are only temporary solution to a much bigger and more important problem. You've tried healing by yourself but can't seem to understand what healing actually looks like. That used to be me. You've used a bunch of tools for healing but can't seem to actually work. Okay, so these are some possible reasons. Now, this is a good video and all, but why should you actually listen to me, right? Why am I wearing this? If you're new here, why am I wearing this like green looking like hoodie, whatever, right? It's because I just like it. I just like the color green, and I use this for to pray anyway, so I'm just gonna use it like every time. So yeah, it's just a fun thing to do. All right. So why should you actually listen to me? Who am I? Who is this guy in a green garment looking like a KKK clan person? Okay. Uh, 2020, I'd been in multiple romantic relationships from a young age. I'm not a playboy. In those relationships, I kept repeating the same patterns. Things like shutting down, overthinking everything, reacting emotionally, manipulating or guilt tripping, people pleasing, uncontrolled anger, and so on and so forth. Deep down, I knew these patterns were sabotaging every connection I had. Everything intensified 2024 after my dad passed away when I was 16 due to autoimmune disease. Now, I didn't just lose my dad, of course, I lost a masculine anchor in my life. My nervous system was constantly under pressure. I was living in fight or flight, and in those same patterns kept showing up both internally and in my relationships. But instead of grieving, I actually distracted myself, chasing women while avoiding the pain of both its death and my failed relationships. And that's when I went down in deep inside the rabbit hole. 2025, something shifted. I ended a relationship, and for the first time, I didn't run from myself. I started searching for real answers, things like books, podcasts, and just like honest, authentic, and just like raw conversations with people. I began understanding family dynamics, intergenerational patterns, nervous system regulation, and inner child work. So 2026, this year, I became someone I didn't think I could be. I overcame chronic overthinking and people pleasing. I built real self agency, which is the ability to respond instead of react to certain things in my life. especially in relationships. Now I help other guys do the same. I feel in control of themselves, break their patterns, and show up differently in their lives and relationships. I've grieved now through my dad. I've grieved the relationship losses. I've actually handled I've descended into my own soul, into the parts that I dislike, and I've actually resolved it here and there. So, just a brief story to start this video, which is the Canon event. What I actually needed to go through in order for me to understand all this. Okay, so for the past few months, I've been trying my best to heal my destructive patterns. Every day I tried doing breathwork, meditation, journaling, and so on and so forth. I tried embodying a safe nervous system towards my families, my friends, my partners, but it did not work at all. I was thinking, what am I possibly doing wrong here? I kept doing the same thing for weeks, straightforward, researching even more about overcoming problems that sabotages relationships. Right? I'm just like reading more books and whatever. Like, what am I missing here? Okay. Then it actually clicked. I can implement a bunch of tools like breathwork, meditation, and journaling, but it does not necessarily directly lead to the healing of my nervous system. It came to me when I crossed a random YouTube video on this topic and a random research from an old guy that talks about neuroplasticity. I then dived deeper onto this research and found out that people that is struggling with chronic stress, chronic overthinking that leads to things like insomnia or other negative effects can have alternative options to perform neuroplasticity. I was like, oh wow, it all makes so much sense now. It clicked onto me that in order for one to heal, we must actually take the necessary step to heal. But what does healing necessarily even mean? Okay? For a couple of days into the research, I found the answer. And it was within me all along. It was within you all along. I don't have to find it externally or whatever. It is our own inner work that we must endure and actually embrace. I'll be talking about it soon. Another problem I found is that even though I found the first problem, which is the one I know how to actually heal, the second problem also comes with it, even before the first one, actually. When a nervous system is in stress mode, overthinking mode, just its false self, it will only heal if the person can see a true self to mirror back into. Stay tuned for that. The third problem I found was that it is surprisingly true that relationship or social skills advice in and of itself actually does not work. I've consumed at least like 10,000 hours of relationship videos, but every time I apply them, it does work, but only to a certain extent. It is very situational and very conditional. It is not necessarily addressing the root core or the root cause of the problem, but fortunately I found the answer, and it's what I've been preaching all along, and I'll teach you about it in this video. So, problem number 1. Healing requires mirroring of a safe nervous system. Okay, so this one is a little bit long, but bear with me because it's going to be very, very valuable. The first problem is that when we heal, we need to experience it with a person that embodies a safe nervous system as well. First, take a look at this. You see, it is a child just looking at himself in a mirror, right? The child is all happy, he's just smiling, right? He seems very joyful, right? Smile for me. Now imagine if he sees himself, but the reflection is the devil. Or the reflection is a distorted figure of himself. How would you think he react? Would he be scared, right? Of course, duh, okay? The concept that I want to explain is how parents can create a reflection of their children that is distorted. Okay, keep in mind of that word distorted. It is usual if someone, especially your parent, right, looks at you in disgust, then you will unconsciously and automatically think to yourself, like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Or do I look ugly? Right? Or what? Just the other day, it was the celebration of Eid, and I had to use a semi-formal religious and cultural outfit that matches the occasion. I was trying out some clothes that I had and was actually very, very happy with it. Then as soon as I got out, my mom looked at me like a little bit confused. She said, "Hmm," and I said, "What?" Straight away, I asked if there's something wrong with me, or the outfit, or do I have a dirt in my eye because I just woke up or something. But then she said, "Your pants. I think we have to change it. Because if it's too formal, people might look at you weirdly, and our family will think you're doing too much. Just be more casual or just change the color, perhaps." Well, in my mind, I thought that it just, it looked fine, but I don't really care to be honest, so I just changed it without minding it. Well, just from this small example that we experience on a daily basis is a very good explanation onto how we look at ourselves the way other people look at us, especially our parents. From that, we're going to be talking about identity creation, right? Based on my example that I gave my mom, based on the example I gave of my mom looking at me with confusion, we can connect this like meaning to the same meaning of relying on someone to create your identity. Okay? Because imagine you as a child, right? Just briefly, you just moved to a new city with your family because of whatever reasons, right? Think about like maybe like in movies you see a child or any kid in his like story, he actually moved to like a new city. He needs to move like into a new environment or whatever. Just think of that, right? Just think of one of the scenes that in a movie, right? It's very common, probably. Because of this, you are forced to go to a new school with a new environment and new friends, whatever. You feel semi excited because it's a new life with new friends, but you miss your friends at your old school or your old neighborhood, of course, right? So imagine it's your first day of school, right? Everyone waves at you, especially the teacher. They greet you. Maybe it's a her or him. "Good morning, sweetheart." Well, I think who would say sweetheart is a her. Okay. "Good morning, sweetheart. Welcome to the new school. I'll show you around." You feel welcomed, comforted, so you follow the teacher. And then you're walking down the hallway and you see kids putting books and bags in their lockers, and groups of friends walking together to classes. Out of a sudden, there's a group of friends just weirdly like looking at you like, who is this guy, right? You see one with the curly hair just giggled a little. One with the high blue socks whispered to another. The one with the glasses gave you like a sassy look. What a jerk, right? Just imagine this picture right here. This is what, the guy with the, well, it's just a random picture I found on Google, but you get what I mean, okay? So yeah, correct. They are a jerk, right? What will happen is that your mind will think that there's something wrong with you when technically there is, like, physically isn't. But because perhaps the child was new, people looked at him as if he is some alien from Mars, right? From the root chord of the word itself, completely alienated, however you want to pronounce it. What this will do to the child is that he or she will think that there is something completely wrong with them. Either their messy hair after shower, or small lips, or big eyes, or horizontally wide body, we can just say fat, right? Whatever it is, the child will develop insecurities. It is based on how other people, in this case his or her friends, view them. In this case, if this scene is repeated over and over again throughout months or even years, like non-stop, some can actually go experience like bullies or whatever, then the child will grow with a lot of insecurities. It makes sense. Hence why in movies some children are bullied because of their looks, making them depressed, suicidal. They develop chronic stress and anxiety, developing a very, very severe insecurity. I mean, it also depends on how the family developed the child and treats the child during their growth phase from child to like young adult, which is very important, because if it's good, then you're gonna handle things better. But if it's bad, then It's the other way around. Because if developmental needs and healthy behaviors are not fulfilled by the child from the parents, then these stuff will likely happen because it is what it is. But what we need to get out of this is anyone can affect our identity, especially as children, where we do not have the ability to create our own identity unless we look at someone else's. Even when you're an adult right now, you might have unconsciously still look at some model or celebrity like in social media that you love and try your best to imitate their identity, their looks, appearance, fashion, the way they talk, the way they walk, eat, or even say whatever it is, right? We might still be unconsciously doing it even though we are now adults. Why? There's a bunch of reasons for that. But even more for a child, it is more heavily reliant on someone else to build their character, identity, personality, and all. Hence why we have the term parenting in the first place, right? Parenting is literally being a parent to a child. Like that's the definition of it. Providing all the necessary needs a child needs until the day they die. Now, I know a lot of parents I know these days, they just like wing it, right? In other words, we can just say they just raw dog it. They just raw dog parenting because perhaps it's better to learn as you go. Am I right? Well, I believe that statement of learn as you go, it only applies to a certain extent. So think about this. The reason you are watching this video right now is because you know you have patterns, problems, life struggles you want to fix but unable to. The thing about these patterns and problems is that they are most definitely affected, influenced, programmed, or caused by your past experiences with people and just your surrounding. Because remember, if you watch my last video, right, you'll know what a pattern is and why is it destructive. It was on about quit like replaying your conversation, and the other one is like what's the other one? I don't remember the other one, but I remember the latest one, which is like quitting your overthinking and fixing. If you want to like stop replaying conversation in your head because of arguments, then go ahead and watch that video, right? It is because of past experience with especially trauma. With trauma, you are inevitably doomed to create these patterns unconsciously, right? Keep that in mind. So you, being emotionally shut down all the time, overthinking all the time, defensiveness to your partner, to your family, to other people, people pleasing, and many other patterns are the result of a traumatic experience. And the reason you get these traumatic experience is very obvious. Is because your parents, your caregivers, whoever supported you and took care of you in the past until or not until now, they did not have the ability to provide you with the core needs you needed, you expected, you longed for as a child. But again, it's not your fault, and it's not their fault either. We are in a world full of BS, and all around us, like the war that's happening right now, right? If you're aware of it in social media, it's all around the world, all around the news as well. The things around us are already evil. The devil keeps on getting better and better at conquering our minds, which is very, very dangerous, guys. Listen, right? Your parents or your caregivers did not have the ability to fulfill 100% of your core needs, right? So, okay, if you don't know what are the core needs, right? It's basically, there's three. Let's see if I remember. So first is validation. Second is unconditional validation, right? Second is unconditional love, right, from the mother and the father. And the third is knowing that your mom and dad is actually okay. Because if you don't know, if the third one, you don't know if your mom and dad is actually okay, let's say they divorce, the child will think that they are a burden to them, and the child does not want to burden the mother and the father. The child does not want to express their emotions, their feelings about whatever they think about, right? And so the child will suppress those emotions, suppress those feelings, and that energy will be stuck later on in adult relationships. The first one and two, unconditional validation and unconditional love, if they don't have that unconditional love and validation, they will try to find it and chase it later on in adult relationships. Perhaps with a woman, they chase validation from a woman. They chase validation from their business. They chase you chase validation from a woman. You chase love and validation from other things, right? From external validation, not internally, because you did not get that internally from your parents during your childhood. Now, this is right. This is because perhaps themselves they did not get their core needs due to intergenerational trauma. I always mess up saying that word all the time. Intergenerational trauma cycle or pattern. And because of this, they can't give it to you because they themselves couldn't possess it as a child, right? Perhaps the core needs, like they didn't get their core needs from your grandparents, let's say. So my point is that, perhaps your grandparents did not give them the needs, yeah, right, that they expected as well. Many things can happen in between generations that lead you to having a problem right now. So my point is that because they have missing or incomplete needs that we needed, the way we see ourselves is the way they guided us with that lack of developmental needs. The way we see our own identity is the way our parents sees who we are. Our identity based on their level of confidence, based on how they built their identity from their own parents, aka our grandparents, your grandparents. So you growing up right now, you have a missing developmental needs that your parents couldn't actually fulfill. But now it is your job and responsibility to get back those needs as an adult now, right? To see how a need is fulfilled from another point of view. Because now I can tell you this: you can never change how your parents treat you, right? Duh, right? I mean, unless they're willing to do the inner work with you as well. But I'm 99.99999 and so forth percent sure that you, or most of you watching this video, your parents are completely different from you. They are not the ones that would love to do the inner work due to work, different values, beliefs, and etc. And that's okay, right? We're not trying to hate on our parents or whatever, right? We're trying to release the emotions, we're trying to heal it, we're trying to grieve it, but not like hate it, because our parents are there, they give birth to us, whatever, etc., etc. Right? What I'm telling you here applies to everything. If you are surrounded by people, not only parents, that are unable to fulfill your core needs, you will either search for one elsewhere or stuck in a barrier where you suffer until death. Just like that need stuck, and you just cannot find it in someone else. You just cannot mirror back something that is safe, that is secure, that is full of needs, full of love and validation that we can give to someone else, right? And trying to fulfill your core needs is basically the same thing as trying to heal. And remember, because you can't fulfill your core needs around people that hasn't yet completed or in the middle of doing their inner work to reflect on themselves, identifying their core needs, now looking for validation, not distorted, and they need to be in peace and grounded. Therefore, you cannot physically heal with people that isn't actually healing, right? I mean, here, you want to be safe, you want to be regulated, you want to heal, you want to get rid of the patterns that does not serve you anymore. You want to be your most authentic self. You want to get rid of your false self, right? Now, this is all good, and I'm rooting for you 100%. I mean, I help men like you do the same thing, right? It is, I say, the utmost important thing in life that you must do, because if you are doing it with a circle that does not support you, with the environment that does not mirror you back the safety, if your environment is not like a container for you to express your emotions, right? And they don't have the necessary knowledge, or they actually just refuse to join you on this inner work, or they just don't want to, then it is so much harder for you to actually heal yourself. You must separate from the the people around you if they don't want to continue doing your inner work, right? Remember the famous quote that says, "Show me your friends and I will show you your future." Right? It doesn't only apply to friends, but it's basically the people you spend time with. They reflect your values, your behaviors, and your future potential because you have to adapt, right? That's the point of relationships, right? You're adapting to other people's values and needs. You're not only giving out yourself and just be selfish, right? You're adapting to their needs as well. This is very true. So, like when I used to hang out with friends that were depressed, right? This is in the past. They were depressed. They played a bunch of video games all day. They watched pornography, like all time, like very, very, like severely. Stayed up until 3 a.m. every single day, being in a toxic relationships with other people. Well, I was also like them. You see how all this connects now? Whoever you spend time with or be with, you will be the same like them. Same thing with healing. If you're within the domain of being that does not try or don't want to try, you will have a hard time leaving that domain. Just like trying to eat healthy. If your family always eat junk food and you are trying to lose weight and like be lean and all that, trying to like improve your physique, it is going to be very hard because all around you is just a bunch of chips and cereals, right? You'll have to actually go out and purchase your own food, which then can actually make you feel left out or then alone because everyone else is enjoying their time with your family members eating the normal junk food while you're just there, the only one that is different in the family, eating healthy like a maniac, right? You'd feel actually lonely. Same thing as this. If your mom and dad or sibling, they keep on being defensive, being disassociated with their feelings and emotions, constantly yelling, fury, chaotic with each other, blaming, calling names, creating each other false identities, emotionally shut down, pleases everyone else, becoming the mean one or the nicest one or the depressed one in the family system slash dynamic, then it is going to be like completely hard for you to heal any of these patterns like you yourself are going through as well, right? It's a very like dysfunctional family system that you want to not be in if you want to heal yourself. Next, there's a book by Dr. Bezel van der Kolk, if I pronounce his name correctly. It's called The Body Keeps Score, right? It talks about how trauma is stuck within the body. This book is insanely good, so it's a must read. But what this book showcases is that any stuck energy, anything that got to do with trauma, if you are still experiencing anything familiar or feels like that traumatic experience, then you will still be affected by that trauma. In this case, if you went through a specific traumatic experience that now you know it'll lead you or cause you to manifesting these patterns that you dislike, but you are still surrounded by family members that still create these familiar experience like the past. For example, the screams, the yells, the shutdown, the insults, the calling names, then your body will still be stuck in a cycle of manifesting those patterns because it can't be distinguished. It can't distinguish the difference between what was happening in the past and what's happening in the now or what's happening in the present. So I talked about this in my last video where the body can actually regress back onto its original less developed state if there's anything that feels familiar with that old traumatic experience that happens again in the now, right? If you can see here from this picture, I also mentioned in the other video that there's birth, there's the now, and there's the future, right? From here, we will regress back into the middle of birth, somewhere like around here, right? If you can see my cursor, or at the point of birth itself. If there's something that is triggering that feels familiar, like your old traumatic experience, like the shutdown, the insults, calling names, and the screams, right? Like let's say you hear someone screams, and then that scream, it sounds familiar. Like your body just is signaling danger because it sounds familiar what you felt like perhaps when you were 7 years old, when people around you were screaming at you and yelling at you, that will trigger itself. Your body will think that, oh, we're back in the birth. We're back in the point where we were being screamed at. So it's the same like now, right? Because our body does not actually have eyes, right? Our body just here recepts like something that is dangerous, recepts something that is like painful to the body, to the nervous system, and because of that, it will regress back to the birth anytime or every time you are triggered by these familiar experiences. The problem is with this is that you are not just like leave your mom, your dad, or your siblings if you only have them as your family. While other people do it because some of them feels threatened already, I'm guessing that you are still experiencing positive moments with them, right? I can't say much because I'm not there with you. You are the only one that needs to measure yourself, your family, how the condition is like there. Because the solution is right in front of you. You are not surrounded by safe nervous system, therefore you need to surround yourself with one. Now, right? Because it's just this like stuck energy. It's just it's hard, man. Like if you are still with the people that actually wounded you or the people that actually gave you this traumatic experience, your body would be easily like it will regress back so much easier. Like the sensitivity is very high, right? You're very vulnerable to this because you're still exposed to the screams, to the yells, and the shutdowns, insults, and calling names. I mean, if that stops, that's like way better, right? But if it still goes, it's still going on, right? Perhaps now you grew up like myself, how my mother treats me, right? She sees me as a responsibility as well, but not as much as she sees responsibility for my little sister, for my younger sister. And how she treats me is not as heavily reliant on like theoretical parenting stuff as much as she does to my sister. You know what I mean? So like example, if about like strict, being like more strict about, let's say, time or curfew, whatever, right? My mom would always focus on my sister instead of myself because as I grew up, like I'm able to actually be with the responsibility and the things that I have to do and actually execute them well enough, rather than my sister who is still immature. So I'm more mature. So next we're gonna be talking about a band of brothers, not boys, continuing on the one before. Now imagine this, right? You want to look at this picture, right? It's not a game, this is just a picture I found. You just slayed a dragon. Now a brother lights up a fire with oak woods, sliced into pieces of medium-sized logs. Swords are leaned onto the rock. Shield is resting on the grass. The wooden cups are filled with hot water filtered from the lake. Nice. The brothers camped beside the dungeon, right? You see the dungeon here? They fought in earlier. Because the sun was setting, they had nowhere to migrate yet. They took their helmets off, hearts beating slower, heart rate is slower. One of them said, "What a victory," right? Just calmly. Then the other one said, "Let's talk about it." But then the third one said, the quiet one, suddenly speaks, "I feel down." And so straight away every brother looked at him with a present soul. Oh, hold on. My battery's about to die. I'm gonna charge it first. It always does this for some reason. Every time I record for like a long time, my camera always turns off because I think it gets like because I'm not doing it while charging it. I'm doing it while just like not charging it while I'm recording. Anyways, sorry for that. The quiet one suddenly speaks. "I feel down." Every brother now looked at him with a present soul, grounded body, and regulated breath. The leader says, "Go on, brother. go talk. Now, every single man in this world, we all need a healthy, a safe, a regulated, grounded leaders to guide them to fulfill their purpose, success, not only wealth, right? Not only business partners, not only ventures and whatnot. You need a safe, regulated, grounded leaders to be with you there in your lowest. Hence, it is necessary for you to be around men that embodies this inner work, that are willing to hold space for the parts of you that is emotional, that is messy, chaotic, right? Brothers that are willing to fight for you, be an emotional support that you can lean on. Because if they feel safe, you'll feel safe. If they are regulated, you will eventually be regulated. If they feel purposeful, you will too. Continuing on that, because our brothers are very important, this is the one that I want to show you. How another person's regulated nervous system actually heals someone. How another brother's regulated system actually heals someone, right? Because why am I talking about brothers, right? Remember the one before. In order for you to actually heal, you have to be around people that is healing, or people that is regulated, because whatever identity you see in another person, it will reflect your own identity, right? So you want another person to see you as someone that is healthy, someone that is regulated, someone that is safe, so you will be safe too. You will know the reference of what a safe nervous system or what a safe, secure attachment actually looks like, and you only get that from a brother that is also embodied in this work. How another person's regulated nervous system actually heals someone. So, neuroscience says that humans are born with a system called the autonomic nervous system, which has two main modes, right? Just a bit clinical here. One is called sympathetic, which means you are in flight or fight or fawn mode, right? You're activated, or there is a threat. Your body is recepting danger from the surrounding. Parasympathetic is when you are in a resting mode, which is you feel more safe, or you're more connected to your body, right? The system does not operate through thinking, right? It operates through signals it picks up from the environment to your body, somatically, from the word soma, which means body. And the most powerful signal the most powerful signals it reads are the other nervous system. This is called co-regulation. Co, which means from one to another, regulation. We're co-regulating both of us, right? If you're with me right now, we're both performing co-regulation, means that you're regulating me and I'm also regulating you. If you're face to face with me right now and we're going through this work together, which is called co-regulation, and it starts at birth. Now imagine this, right? A baby cannot regulate its own nervous system. A baby just comes out from the right from the what is that called, womb. Comes out from the womb, and then what does it know? It knows nothing, right? It needs to borrow the mother's. When the mother is calm and present, the baby's nervous system literally synchronizes with hers and actually settles. When the mother is anxious or absent, the baby's nervous system stays in activation. This is not a metaphor. You can measure it yourself. Heart rate synchronizes, cortisol levels respond, and brainwave patterns actually shift. You can search it up yourself. What happened in the original pain? The child needed to borrow a regulated nervous system, and the parent's nervous system was unavailable, dysregulated, or threatening. So the child's nervous system never actually got the experience of I'm in distress and someone is safe, is present, and the distress passes and I'm still okay. That experience, repeated hundreds of times in early childhood, is what actually builds a secure nervous system, right? But without it, the nervous system learns distress means I'm alone and it might not pass. That's the blueprint that gets carried into adult relationships. What happens when a brother or someone holds you in vulnerability? When you are in your wound, genuinely activated, right? Grieving, and another person who is calm and regulated and present sits with you, there without flinching, without fixing, without pulling away. Something specific happens mechanically. Your nervous system reads their nervous system through multiple channels simultaneously, right? Here, their voice, their pace, their tone, their resonance. A slow, low, steady voice signals safety directly into your brainstem, not your thinking brain, to the ancient part that actually decides if you are safe or not, right? To the one that actually recepts dangers from the surrounding. Their breath. Breathe with me right now. Slow, regulated breathing is actually contagious. Being near someone breathing slowly pulls your own breath toward that rhythm. You see how I just slowed down my pace right now, right? I was talking a lot, but actually I'm slowing down my pace now. It's pretty ironic, but you know what I mean. Their body. Are they leaning away or leaning in? Are they tensed or are they relaxed, right? Are they open or are they closed? Your nervous system reads all of this in milliseconds below conscious awareness. Their eye contact, right? Specific circuits in their brain, there's called the social engagement system, activate through eye contact with a safe person. This literally turns on the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that is more safe, that's more connected. Their stillness. A person who can stay present with your pain without needing to make it stop is communicating to your nervous system. This is survival. I am proof. I am here and I am not destroyed by what you are feeling. What that gives the person being held, for the first time possibly in their entire life, they have the experience of I am in the original pain. I'm grieving right now. And someone is safe and present. You or me. And I'm not alone. And I'm actually still okay. They're not pulling away. They're still here. Unlike my father. Unlike my mother. Unlike my bigger sister. Bigger brother. Unlike the elders. Unlike my friends. That is the missing experience. That is what the nervous system needed in childhood and didn't actually get. And when it finally gets it, even decades later, it will update. Not intellectually, but the actually implicit memory will update. Now the nervous system files a new evidence. Pain does not automatically mean abandonment. I can be in distress and still be held by the brothers I'm with. So why you can't actually replicate this alone? Because when you are alone in your grief, your nervous system is reading its own signals, which at the moment are signals of distress. There's no external regulated system to borrow from. You can calm yourself through breathing and practice, which is valuable, but it's like trying to teach yourself to swim by reading about water, right? You actually have to swim. The real learning happens in the water with someone who can actually hold you if you go under, right? You're not gonna go scuba diving, just scuba diving. You know what I mean? So the second problem is that you don't use tools the right way. You can't meditate or breathe a certain way or use tools to get rid of your wound, right? A wound will always be there until it is tested because it's dormant. Like, the volcano, lava, if it's dormant and you haven't explode, then it's not there yet, right? The reason we need to do this work is not only to relax, calm down, and go back from that, to have that emotional capacity of that activation, go back to that safe mode and not feel triggered. It is to actually build capacity for any somatic manifestations to appear when we are triggered. Because when we are actually in relation with someone that triggers us, that's when the real test happens, right? That's when we can actually put all these work into practice. Just months of doing the work does not necessarily give you the best result of co-regulation and codependence. You actually have to practice it and put it into action to respond and not react when you are in a moment of triggered. Now you can practice with whomever you have relationship with, not only romantically but friendships as well, with your families as well. When you are to put into practice, that's when the nervous system updates that you are signaling safety or not. When you are sensitized, meaning your body is too hyper vigilant to any trigger, that means when there is a slight change of tone or gestures or words that you dislike coming out of a person, your partner's or your friend's mouth, you automatically react crazily. If you use tools like trying to breathe heavily, meditate your way out of that discomfort of wanting to react or in the middle of reacting, then you will still signal danger to your nervous system. This is due to the fact that fear of discomfort, as you can see here, fear of discomfort, is what is preventing you from actually getting process or healing. It is the same thing as any progress, right? Progress takes time, effort, and patience, as we know. If you are not patient enough to be okay and wait for your nervous system to actually be updated, to actually heal, then it will always flare up. So you don't want to have that fear of discomfort of those somatic manifestations in your body, right? Because the first best step that you can actually do is to actually do absolutely nothing, right? Just feel the discomfort. Maybe you will react or maybe you won't. Maybe you will freeze or maybe you won't. You are trying not to. That's what matters. If you are still meditating because of it or something, you are sending danger signals onto your brain. Hence, you will be stuck in this cycle of repeating the same patterns due to the same triggers. The way you use tools correctly is use meditation or constant deep breathing when you are not in a trigger situation. You use these to feel any somatic manifestations that is occurring in your body, to really connect with your feelings outside of that triggering moments. Secondly, it is also used for somatic imprint, right? You allow your body to, quote unquote, screenshot what safe, regulated nervous system feels like. So whenever your body is in a triggering moment, it will try to remember, even though it is not the case all the time. Basically, use tools like meditation and constant deep breathing or journaling not to actually heal or signal safety, but to relax throughout the day to respond from a regulated nervous system when you are triggered. What will happen is every time you repeat a different response, you keep that discomfort mobilized but contained. Your body will think, okay, so we don't need to do like anything in this moment because everything around us feels safe, right? I don't have to tell the body to create coping mechanisms like telling my body to increase heart rate or to be alert or activate any alarm system that leads to sympathetic nervous system and many, many more, right? Whenever you are in a moment where you feel triggered, just breathe. But don't constantly breathe heavily. Connect with your breaths, because if you are constantly breathing heavily, you're still sending you still have fear to not feel that discomfort. You're still sending signals to your brain, to your body, that something is still in danger. Connect with your breaths, be associated with it, but don't be disassociated with it, right? Be in tune with your breath, but don't focus too much. Relax yourself, or no, but don't focus too much on your breath, right? You want to relax yourself, or you want to drop your shoulders, or you want to drop your jaw and respond from there. Now, problem number 3, lastly, is that relationship or social tactics don't actually work. Now, they work to a certain extent, right? It is useful to utilize tactics like knowing how to communicate better or how to respond to a certain event that the way that is more positive. But the thing about this is that there are tons of tactics to use, but we don't actually trace it back to the core root of the problem. Let's say if someone is sick or coughing, are you going to tell him to just stop coughing, right? You're not going to do that, right? You're going to go to the root core of the problem on why he is sick. Perhaps due to eating junk food, perhaps sleeping too cold, like because AC is blasting on him during the night. Whatever it is, that's the root core of the problem, right? And that's what you have to address rather than the surface level. Now, original pain needs to be addressed first. Okay, the original pain or the original wound is the core root of the problem. Healing requires grieving the original wound or pain that you went through in your past story. Without grieving it and healing it, the patterns that you want to remove, like shutting down, avoidance, anxious, people pleasing, and many more will still remain manifested throughout your life for a long period of time. Because using tactics like don't people please that are just surface level, they won't actually change the game or transform you at all. Things will escalate more and more the more you use tactics and tips. Even things like attracting someone that's attractive. Many people says that to use attracting tactics and whatnot, but that's also not who you truly are, right? That's not who you are as an authentic self. If you're just trying to use these surface level, you are not the person who embodies a secure attachment or being a safe regulated nervous system. You're trying to perform, you're trying to be performative, which is actually you are running in your false self if you keep on doing that, which is not your true self, obviously. The original pain are things like domestic abuse, sexual assault, parents' divorce, but it can also be subtle, and this is what many of us actually went through in reality, alright? Parents being dysregulated, silent, being away for so long. These are the subtle, but it strikes childhood innocence away from us completely. These subtle traumatic experiences change the way we think to ourselves, creating the false self. Because we rely our regulation, emotions, and appearance and identity by our parents when we were all a baby, all the way through puberty. If our parents were dysregulated, distorted in their minds, and all those diseases, right? I'm not saying disease, but diseases, when you are not at ease, then we will get those diseases as well. Resolving this will be the best way to overcome any destructive patterns that we repeat in today's life. You use tactics to better communicate with people after you heal the original wound. So you want to address the core root of the problem first, and then you want to get to the surface level, because now you're responding from who you actually are, not from being performative or trying to perform by applying those tools and tactics, right? By this, you won't actually respond from your false self, but from your true self. Your whole identity will change, not you adding more false identities to yourself. You will become the secure attachment. Okay? Now, just going over it once more again, right? The first problem is healing requires a mirroring of a safe nervous system. You need a safe, regulated brother to do this. Problem number 2 is that you don't use tools the right way. You don't want to use tools all the time because because you have this fear of discomfort of those somatic manifestations. So you want to use those tools in a wise way. Third, relationship or social tactics don't work. So you have to address the root core of the problem first in order to embody this person that is safe, secure, and regulated, in order to actually improve relationship, not from tactics, but from who you actually are as a man. If you find this video very valuable, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button, right? It will be gratefully appreciated because I spent a long time in this video. I'm sorry for any like my camera just died and then some of them cut, but whatever it is, I hope you are doing well, having a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.